The signal the year was 2149, and Captain Ryan Hale sat alone in the cockpit of his deep space ship, the Horizon Star. He had been on routine patrol for weeks, scanning empty sectors at the edge of known space. The black sky stretched endlessly before him. With only a few lonely stars twinkling like distant candles, his mission was simple: find new trade routes, scan for resources, and return to Earth. But deep in his mind, Ryan hoped for something more, something that would break the endless silence of space. The ship's AI, a calm voice named Iris, broke the quiet. "Captain, I have detected an unusual pattern in the far sector of Grid 7, she said. Ryan leaned forward, his fingers tapping the console. "Unusual? How unusual?" he asked. The radar screen lit up with a faint glowing shape. It looked like a spider's web, floating in the darkness, slowly shifting like it was alive. "It is not a natural formation," Iris continued. "The energy signature is unlike anything in our database." Ryan narrowed his eyes. "A ship?" he guessed. "Negative," Iris replied. "It matches no known vessel, structure, or phenomenon." Ryan watched as the pattern pulsed. Each pulse sent a wave across the radar, a repeating rhythm. It almost sounded like a heartbeat. Then came the sound, a faint clicking, followed by a low hum. It wasn't random. It repeated every 20 seconds. Ryan felt a chill. "It's a signal," he whispered. "Possibly a distress call," Iris confirmed. "However, the source is located in Sector Delta 94, beyond the mapped web line." Ryan froze. Delta 94 was infamous, a dead zone in space. No human ship had returned from there, and most who tried vanished without a trace. His training told him to mark the coordinates and send them to command. His instincts told him to go. The last time he ignored his instincts, an entire convoy had been lost. "Set a course," he ordered. Iris hesitated. "Captain, entering Delta 94 is extremely dangerous," Ryan smirked. "Dangerous is where history is made." The engines roared to life, and the Horizon Star turned toward the signal. The stars outside the viewport began to shift. Soon, the familiar constellations vanished, replaced by a vast emptiness. It was as if the universe itself had forgotten this place. Hours passed. The signal grew stronger. But so did a strange effect. The stars ahead seemed to bend, like light passing through water. Ryan's head throbbed, a dull ache growing behind. His eyes. "Iris, run a systems check," he said. "All systems are stable, but gravitational readings are inconsistent," she replied. A sudden flash of light filled the cockpit. The web-shaped pattern was no longer on the radar. It was right in front of them. It shimmered like silver threads stretched across space, spinning slowly. In the center glowed a faint white orb. Pulsing in time with the signal, Ryan's breath caught. He had never seen anything so alien. "What is it?" he asked. "Unknown." Iris answered. "Energy levels are spiking." Suddenly, the ship began to shake. Warning lights flashed red across the control panel. "Gravitational pull increasing," Iris warned. Ryan tried to steer away, but the controls felt heavy. It was like invisible hands were pulling the ship forward. "Reverse thrusters!" he shouted. "Non-responsive," Iris replied. The threads of the web began to glow brighter, wrapping around them like light chains. Ryan's heart pounded. "This is not a natural phenomenon," Iris said, her voice still calm but faster. "No kidding." Ryan snapped. The ship was now inside the web. Every strand hummed with strange vibrations. Ryan thought he saw movement, shadows crawling along the silk-like lines. A sound filled the air, a deep, resonating hum that seemed to come from inside. His bones, then the orb in the center flared, and a wave of light rushed toward them. The Horizon Star's hull groaned under the pressure. Ryan gripped the controls, bracing himself. "Iris, shut down non-essential systems." "Confirmed!" The lights in the cockpit dimmed, Still, the wave of light hit them like a tidal force. The stars outside stretched into long streaks of silver. Everything in Ryan's vision began to blur. He could feel his heartbeat matching, the pulse of the orb. And then, silence. Complete and perfect silence. The cockpit floated in darkness. Ryan looked around. No stars, no planets, nothing. Only the faint glow of the web threads fading into the void. Iris. "Where are we?" Ryan asked. There was no reply. The AI's voice was gone. Static filled the comm system. Ryan tried to restart the controls, but they were dead. The only thing working was the external camera. And through it, he saw something. Moving across the threads, something tall, thin, and glowing. It stopped, tilting its head as if staring right into the camera. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. The figure raised an arm and the web began to shift, opening a path. Without warning, the ship started drifting forward on its own. Ryan's hands hovered over the dead controls. He knew one thing. Wherever this path led, there would be no turning back. The planet of Silk, the horizon star, slid forward as if carried by invisible hands. Ryan's dead controls refused to respond. Outside the viewport, the silver threads twisted and curved into a funnel, guiding the ship deeper into the glowing web. There was no sense of speed. It felt like floating through a dream. But the light ahead grew brighter, almost blinding. Then, without warning, the funnel burst open. Ryan gasped. They were no longer in deep space. The ship hovered above an endless white plain that shimmered like moonlight on water. But it wasn't water. The surface looked like silk stretched tight over something moving beneath. Far on the horizon, pillars of silver rose into the sky, connecting to more threads. High above, the entire sky was a dome of woven light, shifting and swaying as if alive. The horizon star descended slowly. Ryan felt no thrusters, no vibration, just a gentle lowering. The ship touched down with a faint bounce, as if landing on soft fabric. For a long moment, Ryan sat frozen, staring out. The silence was total. Even the hum of the ship's systems was gone. "Iris?" he called. Static crackled, but no voice replied. He unstrapped himself and grabbed his helmet, though the sensors said the air was breathable. The airlock door slid open, and Ryan stepped out into the strange world. The ground gave slightly under. His boots, like walking on a trampoline, he knelt and touched it. The silk was warm, almost like skin. It pulsed faintly under his fingers. Something alive was under there, moving slowly. A ripple passed away from him, vanishing into the white distance. Then he heard it, a faint chime, like a single crystal bell ringing far away. He turned, scanning the plain in the distance. A silver line stretched upward, a bridge of silk, thin but impossibly high, leading to a cluster of shapes. Ryan zoomed his visor. Structures, he thought, tall spire-like towers, glowing faintly in the shifting light. Between them, small figures moved gracefully, walking across silk pathways suspended high above the ground. Ryan started toward them, his boots sinking slightly into the surface. Each step sent ripples across the plain. He kept glancing down, feeling the movement beneath his feet. Once, a bulge rose ahead of him. Like something pushing up from under the silk, it followed his steps for a while, then sank back down. The air was warm, almost humid, carrying a faint, sweet smell, like flowers he couldn't name. As he neared the first silk bridge, he noticed the threads weren't solid. They shimmered and vibrated. As though woven from pure light, he hesitated, unsure if it could hold his weight. Then, from above, a shadow passed over him. Ryan looked up. A tall figure stood on the bridge, watching him. Its body was long and graceful, skin pale as moonlight, hair flowing like strands of silver. Glowing eyes met his, but not with hostility, more like curiosity. The figure tilted its head, and another joined it. They spoke in a language Ryan didn't understand, but the sound was soft, like silk sliding over silk. Suddenly, the first figure leaped down, landing with barely a whisper on the silk ground. Ryan took a step back, hand hovering near his sidearm. The being raised both hands slowly, palms outward. Its lips moved, but the words didn't reach Ryan's ears. Instead, they bloomed in his mind. "Do not fear, traveler from beyond the web," Ryan froze. "You can hear me?" He said aloud, "We hear you." The voice in his mind replied, calm and resonant. It stepped closer, its bare feet leaving no mark on the silk. "You stand on the threads of life. Few from your kind have ever touched them." Ryan glanced down, suddenly aware that the ground beneath him might not just be terrain, it might be alive. Another chime rang out, this time closer. From the horizon, massive silk strands began to rise, arching over them, weaving themselves into a vast dome. The silver pillars he had seen earlier seemed to grow taller. Connecting to the dome above, between the glowing towers, Ryan saw movement. Dozens, maybe hundreds, of these beings gathering, their eyes glowing like stars. "You will come with us," the voice said. Before Ryan could reply, the silk beneath. His feet shifted. The ground itself carried him forward, rolling in smooth waves toward the glowing city. The towers loomed higher as he approached. They were not made of stone or metal, but of woven silk as thick as tree trunks, glistening under an unseen light source. Bridges of light connected them, and strange floating shapes drifted through. The air like giant seeds. Ryan's heart pounded. He had never seen a civilization like this. It was beautiful, alien, and unsettling all at once. They entered the central tower, where the silk was so fine it looked like glass. Inside, the air was cooler, and the sweet scent stronger. At the far end of the hall, a tall, throne-like seat waited. Upon it sat a being more radiant than the others, her silver hair glowing like a crown. Her eyes locked onto Ryan, and the voice in his mind deepened. "We have waited for you, human. The web is breaking, and only you can mend it." Ryan's throat tightened. He didn't know why he was here, or how they even knew what a human was. But one thing was certain. He was not leaving this planet anytime soon. The Silkborn. The hall was silent except for the faint rustle of silk drifting through the air. Ryan stood in the center, surrounded by tall, graceful beings whose glowing eyes followed his every move. The one on the throne leaned forward. Her silver hair flowing like liquid light. Her presence was heavy, yet not threatening, like the weight of deep water pressing all around. "I am Serenia, Queen of the Silkborn." The voice echoed in Ryan's mind. Her lips barely moved, but the words were clear. "You cross the web of stars. You stand where few of your kind have ever stood. We know why you are here." Ryan frowned. "I don't even know why I'm here." Her eyes narrowed, not in anger, but as if she could see straight through him. "You will," she replied. The crowd parted, and several Silkborn approached, carrying a large tapestry. It shimmered with shifting images, as if woven from threads of pure light. Ryan saw scenes changing across it, storms tearing apart silver bridges, shadowy creatures crawling from the void, and in the center of the tapestry, a human figure, holding a single glowing thread. "This is the Song of the Web," Serenia said. "It tells of the one who will mend the thread of life before the shadow takes all." Ryan's skin prickled. "That's just a story," he said. "A prophecy," she corrected. "Our world was woven by the great web, spun from the first light of the stars. It holds our land, our sky, and our lives together. But the web is fraying," she pointed to a black mark spreading across the tapestry. "The shadow weavers feed on the silk of creation. Every day they eat more. Soon the web will collapse and all will fall into the void." Ryan glanced around. The hall. The Silkborn watched him with a strange mix of hope and fear. Even if I believed you, why me? I'm just a captain, not some chosen one. Serenia rose from her throne, her tall figure gliding toward him. The web called you, she said simply. You carry something the Shadow Weavers cannot touch. Ryan felt for his pocket, instinctively. Inside was the small golden compass his father had given him years ago. It had no power, no tech. But somehow, it was warm now. Before Ryan could speak, the walls of the hall rippled. Thin strands of silk shifted aside to reveal an open view of the horizon in the distance. Ryan saw dark shapes moving across the outer strands of the web. Slow, deliberate, and wrong. They looked like giant insects made of shadow, their legs stabbing into the silk as they moved. The Queen's voice tightened. The Shadow Weavers have found the outer lines. Soon, they will come for the heart strand. When that happens, the web will die. A male Silkborn stepped forward, taller than the others, with threads of gold woven into his hair. He cannot weave the thread unless he passes the test, the male said. Ryan blinked. Test. The test of threads, Serenia explained. A trial that will judge your balance, your courage, and your mind. If you fail, the web will reject you, and you will vanish into the void. The crowd stirred at her words. Ryan felt the weight of every glowing eye in the hall. Part of him wanted to refuse, to demand they send him home. But another part, the part that had brought him here instead of turning away, felt something different, a pull, like the signal that had drawn him into the web in the first place. Fine, he said at last. I'll take your test. Serenia's expression didn't change, but the light in her eyes brightened. Then you will prepare. At first light you will walk the maze of threads, Ryan swallowed. And if I pass? Then you will hold the heart strand, she said, and you will see the truth of our world and of your own. Two Silkborn approached him, offering a cloak woven of fine white silk. It was light as air but warm against his skin. When he touched it, faint images flickered across the threads, stars, bridges, and shapes he didn't recognize. Your mind will need shielding. One of them explained softly. The maze will test more than your body. Ryan followed them out of the hall, across a bridge of light. Below, the white plains rippled endlessly, glowing faintly under the woven dome of the sky. From here, he could see the great strands of the web stretching into the distance. Each, one as wide as a river, far out, dark spots moved slowly along the lines, the Shadow Weavers waiting. The Silkborn city was alive with movement. Children darted across narrow silk ropes without fear. Tall spinners wove fresh lines into the bridges, their hands moving in a blur. Everywhere, the faint chime of silk rang in the air like wind chimes made of crystal. Ryan couldn't help but feel awe and dread. This was a world worth saving, but the shadows were already here. As they reached a high tower overlooking the vast maze below, Ryan stopped. The maze of threads spread out like an impossible spider web. Its paths suspended high above a bottomless black void. The silk bridges twisted and shifted slowly, as if alive. One wrong step and there would be no return. His stomach tightened. Tomorrow, he would have to cross it. And somehow he knew. Whatever waited at the end would change him forever. The test of threads. The first light of the silk sun spilled through the woven sky. It was not a normal sunrise. The dome above shimmered with waves of silver light, each pulse running along the strands like the heartbeat of the world. Ryan stood at the edge of the maze of threads, his new silk cloak swaying in the warm breeze. Beneath him yawned the void, not darkness, but an endless depth that seemed to swallow light itself. It was like staring into the mouth of infinity. Serenia, the Silkborn queen, stood on a high arch of silk above him. Her voice reached his mind without a sound. Every thread has memory. Every step has weight. Move without respect, and the maze will reject you." Ryan tightened his gloves, glancing at the shimmering bridge ahead. It was no wider than his own shoulders, twisting slowly like a living thing. Two Silkborn guides approached him, their tall, frames bending slightly under the white sun's glow. They carried no weapons, only spools of shimmering thread at their sides. One spoke aloud, the words soft. "Do not run, human. The maze hears fear," the other added, "but do not stop, or it will feed on doubt." Ryan stepped forward, boots sinking slightly into the silk. It felt warm and faintly sticky, holding his soles just enough to make him aware of every movement. He took his first step, then another. The bridge swayed and the silk strands beneath his feet vibrated like the strings of a harp. A low hum rose up, deep enough to rattle his chest. The first turn in the maze came quickly. The path split into 3 silk bridges, each swaying in a different rhythm. Ryan scanned them, one steady, one slow, and one shifting unpredictably. He chose the steady one, but halfway across, the silk pulsed violently. The steady sway turned. Into a sharp twist, Ryan dropped to his knees, gripping the strands. From the void below, something moved. Long, shadowy limbs, stretching upward. They reached for the bridge but stopped just short. As if testing the air, Ryan crawled forward until the silk steadied again. He stood, heart pounding. This wasn't just a test of balance. It was alive, aware. The second section of the maze was worse. Thin, web-like ropes hung above him, shifting and wrapping around each other. He realized they weren't just obstacles. They were part of the path. He would have to swing across them. Taking a deep breath, Ryan grabbed one of the ropes. It was soft but unyielding, like muscle under skin. He swung to the next, boots brushing empty space below. The rope vibrated, and a high-pitched tone rang through the air. From the corner of his eye, he saw movement. Silk beasts, pale and translucent, crawling along the ropes toward him. They had no eyes, only long, needle-like legs that pierced the silk with precision. Ryan kicked one away as it leaped at him. It fell silently into the void, vanishing like smoke. The next swing brought him to a solid platform. If solid could describe a swaying disk of woven threads, here the hum of the maze was louder. The silk beneath his feet pulsed in time with his heartbeat. He realized with a chill. It was reading him, adjusting to him. Halfway through the maze, Ryan's legs burned from balancing. Sweat rolled down, his back under the cloak. Then ahead, he saw it. The heart strand, a single glowing thread stretched between 2 massive pillars of silk. It pulsed with a light unlike anything else in the maze, a soft gold that seemed to reach into his mind, but between him and the heart strand was the final challenge. A rotating spiral of silk bridges, twisting like the inside of a seashell. They turned slowly at first, then faster as he approached. Ryan stepped onto the first, timing his movements. Every time the spiral shifted, gaps opened beneath him, revealing the endless void. The hum rose into a sharp, almost musical tone. The maze was singing. The final bridge tilted suddenly. Ryan lunged forward, grabbing the heart strand. The moment his fingers touched it, a shock of warmth flooded his body. Images burst in his mind, the great web stretching through space, connecting worlds. He saw the Silkborn weaving it under a sky of newborn stars. He saw the shadow weavers, cutting it strand by strand, feeding on its light. And then he saw himself, standing where the last thread remained. The vision faded, and Ryan found himself kneeling on the bridge, the heart strand glowing in his hands. A voice whispered in his mind, not Serencha's, not the guides. "You are now part of the web. What you mend will mend you. What you lose will be lost forever." The silk bridges steadied, and the hum softened. When Ryan stood, The path ahead was clear, leading straight back to the maze's entrance. The test was over, but the weight of what he had seen stayed heavy. On his chest, Serenia waited for him, her eyes brighter than before. "You have passed," she said. "Now you understand why you were called. The Shadow Weavers know you are here, and they will not wait." Ryan looked down at the heart strand, still glowing faintly in his hand. For the first time since he arrived, he realized something. He might never see Earth again, and yet, for reasons he couldn't explain, he wasn't ready to leave. The web's enemy Ryan stood at the edge of the Queen's high balcony, the heart strand glowing faintly in his hand. The city below swayed gently on its silk foundations, bridges whispering in the warm wind, far beyond the horizon. The great web shimmered under the woven sky, its threads stretching into the dark distance. It looked peaceful, but he knew it wasn't. Serenia's voice slid into his mind like a quiet blade. "You have touched the heart strand, Captain Hale. Now you can see what we see." Ryan blinked and the world shifted. The threads of the web no longer looked like silver bridges. They blazed with living light. And in that light, he saw the wounds, long sections where the glow dimmed, the strands frayed, some places completely gone. He saw them then. The Shadow Weavers. At first, they looked like stains in the web's light. Then they moved, and he saw their true form. They had no fixed shape, shifting between long-limbed insect forms and swirling, smoke-like masses. Their bodies were made of darkness so pure it seemed to swallow reality around it. When they touched a thread, the silk didn't burn or tear. It unwove, disappearing strand by strand, as if it had never existed. "They don't destroy," Ryan said slowly. "They erase." "Yes," Serenia replied. "They are older than the web. They come from the between, a place without time or matter. They do not feed on silk for hunger. They feed because light is pain to them." Ryan watched one of the creatures crawl along a fading strand. It moved with patient precision, almost like it was playing a game. Behind it, the gap in the web spread wider. The light around the gap dimmed, and the edges began to fray faster, as if the web itself had lost the will to hold together. "How many are there?" Ryan asked. Serenia's gaze stayed on the distance. "Enough to finish this world before your next year ends." Ryan gripped the balcony rail. "Then we fight them now." "We have fought them for 1,000 cycles," the Queen said, "and every victory costs us more than it gives. They do not come all at once, they wait. They choose their strand carefully, and when they strike, it is where we are weakest." Ryan looked back at the heart strand in his palm. "Then why do they want me?" The Queen's eyes glimmered faintly. "They don't want you. They want what you brought." She gestured toward the docking spire where the horizon star rested. "Your ship carries an energy core that is unlike anything here. If they take it, they can use its light to unravel the heart strand itself." Ryan's stomach tightened. If the heart strand broke, the vision he saw in the maze would become real. The web collapsing, the Silkborn falling into the void, the light going out. "How do we stop them?" he asked. The Queen stepped closer, her voice firm. "We must take the fight to them in the dark places between the strands before they can reach your ship. But only you can move there without being seen." "Why me?" "Because you are not part of the web," she said simply. "Its rules cannot bind you or protect you." A sudden chime rang out, deep and urgent. The Silkborn on the lower bridges froze, looking toward the outer horizon. Ryan followed their gaze. There, in the farthest strands, a shadow bloomed, growing larger with each heartbeat. One of the guides from the maze ran into the hall, his mental voice sharp. "They have crossed the 9th strand. They come for the docking spire." Ryan's mind raced. If they reached his ship, they wouldn't just take the core, they could trace the energy back to Earth. This wasn't just about saving the Silkborn anymore, this was about keeping the Shadow Weavers from finding humanity. He turned to the Queen. "Then we don't wait for them to come to us," he said. Her silver hair swayed in the wind, and for the first time, Ryan thought he saw approval in her eyes. "You will need Silkborn. Warriors," she said, "and a path through the great web's outer rings. We call that place the Threadless Void. Few have returned from it." Ryan smiled grimly. "Good thing I'm not here to play it safe." The Queen raised her hand, and a sharp chime echoed through the city, from every tower and bridge. Silkborn, armed with glowing silk spears, leaped into motion. Above them, huge, moth-like creatures with silver wings unfolded from perches, ready to carry warriors across the strands. Ryan looked down at the heart strand in his hand. It pulsed once, and he felt a strange connection, like the web itself was watching him, waiting. Whatever happened next, he knew there would be no going back. The hunt for the Shadow Weavers had begun. Battle in the Great Web. The Great Web stretched across the void like a galaxy made of light. Its strands glowed with shifting colors, each one vibrating like the strings of an endless harp. Ryan's ship, the Horizon Star, hovered at the center of a wide junction where multiple threads met. Around it, Silkborn warriors mounted on giant silver-winged moths formed a loose perimeter. Above, below, and all around, the emptiness of the between waited, silent and cold, but the silence didn't last. Ryan saw them first, shapes sliding along the sauce. Distant threads, their movements slow but deliberate. The Shadow Weavers didn't rush. They crept, folding and unfolding like living smoke. Wherever they moved, the silk dimmed and frayed. Some crawled like spiders, others floated in shifting coils. And behind them came the smaller ones, needle shades, sharp and fast, sent to cut ahead of the main swarm. Serenya's voice was calm but tense in his mind. "They test our edges before they strike the heart." Ryan's hands tightened on the controls. "Then we cut their edges off." The first wave hit without warning. Needle shades darted across the strands, their needle-like legs stabbing into the silk. Each strike sent a vibration racing down the threads, threatening to unravel entire sections. The Silkborn riders dove from above, their silk spears glowing with white fire. When a spear pierced a shade, it dissolved into wisps of dark mist, but for every one destroyed, two more seemed to appear. Ryan angled the Horizon Star along a thick anchor strand. The ship's cannons weren't designed for battles in a living web. Every shot had to be careful. A miss could tear the silk itself. He switched to pulse bursts, short blasts that knocked shades off the threads without burning them. The silk vibrated under the impacts. Ryan felt it through the hull, like the web itself was reacting to the fight. Then the main body of the Shadow Weavers appeared. They came in different sizes, some as small as Ryan's ship, others stretching the length of a city street. One massive weaver pulled itself along the thread toward them. It had too many legs, each one sinking deep into the silk and pulling with a slow, crushing force. The air, if it could be called air out here, seemed to grow colder. Ryan's breath fogged inside his helmet. Serenya's voice cut through. "That one feeds on anchor strands. If it breaks this junction, 5 lines will fall." Ryan didn't hesitate. He pushed the Horizon Star forward, engines roaring. The ship skimmed along the strand, the silk blurring past beneath him. The weaver turned its head, or what passed for a head, and Ryan saw no eyes, only a deep, lightless hollow. The weaver opened its mouth, not teeth, threads, hundreds of black fraying threads twisting and snapping in hunger. They lashed at the Horizon Star, leaving scorch marks on the hull. Ryan banked hard, swinging around to face the creature head-on. "Iris, charge the core for a pulse burst," he ordered. "Warning, pulse burst will destabilize nearby strands." the AI replied. Ryan gritted his teeth. Do it! As the core built energy, the Silkborn. Riders swarmed the creature's legs, driving spears into the joints. The weaver screamed. Not a sound, but a vibration that ran through every thread, rattling Ryan's bones. The pulse meter hit full charge. Ryan lined up with the hollow where its head should be and fired. The burst of white light tore through the weaver. Its body collapsed inward, dissolving into drifting black dust. The silk beneath it shivered violently, then steadied. For a moment, the web was quiet again, but only for a moment. From the far side of the junction, a new shadow bloomed. Bigger than the first, much bigger. It moved differently, faster, more deliberate. And Ryan realized with a sick twist in his gut, it wasn't crawling on the strands. It was moving through them. The silk bulged and warped wherever it passed, as if the web was trying to push it out but couldn't. Serena's voice came sharp. That is a spire eater. If it reaches your ship, it will not just take the core. It will unravel the line to your world. Ryan's hands flew over the controls. He didn't wait for the spire eater to emerge. He turned the horizon star toward it and pushed the engines to full. If this thing could swim inside the web, then maybe he could follow. The hull trembled as he crossed into the silk layer. The outside world vanished. Replaced by a blinding tunnel of white strands and golden light, the spire eater was ahead, moving like a dark wound in the web's fabric. Ryan didn't know how to fight something from inside the threads, but he knew one thing. If it got out, the web was finished. He pushed closer, the heart strand glowing brighter in his hand, as if urging him forward. Behind him, the Silkborn warriors' voices echoed faintly in his mind. Do not let it breach the line, human. Ryan's jaw set. Not planning to, he muttered, and he dove deeper into the living heart of the web, chasing the enemy where no Silkborn dared to follow. Beyond the web, the spire eater's trail was chaos inside the web. Threads hung broken and curled like burned wires. Every step Ryan took through the living tunnel made the strands tremble. It felt like walking through the veins of a dying giant. The creature was close now, a mass of shifting darkness, forcing its way forward. Its long, jagged limbs tore through the silk from within. Each rip sent a shock wave through the entire web. Ryan's ship rattled under the pressure. The heart strand in his hand glowed fiercely, sending a pulse through the tunnel ahead. The spire eater reacted, slowing for the first time. Its form writhed like it was in pain. Ryan didn't waste the moment. He gunned the horizon star forward, lining. Up directly behind it, the AI's voice filled the cockpit. Warning! Core overload will occur if you maintain this speed. Not planning to slow down, Ryan said. As he closed the distance, flashes of memory flickered in his mind. The Silkborn city under its glowing dome, Serena's steady eyes, the children racing across narrow silk ropes, laughing, the threads holding their entire world together. He couldn't let the spire eater reach them. When he was close enough to feel the pull of its void-like body, Ryan opened the ship's ventral bay. The heart strand floated free, suspended in a halo of gold. It began to weave itself into a net, each loop tightening in perfect rhythm. Ryan didn't know if it was his doing or the web's, maybe both. The golden net shot forward, wrapping around the spire eater's torso. The creature twisted violently, its claws tearing at the strands. But this time, the silk didn't fray. It grew brighter, stronger. The web itself was fighting back. Spire eater shrieked. Not sound, but a vibration so deep it made Ryan's vision blur. The tunnel around them began to collapse inward, pulling the creature down into a closing knot of light. Ryan yanked the horizon star backward just in time. A blinding flare erupted where the spire eater had been. When it cleared, there was nothing left. Only whole, unbroken silk. The webs. Heartbeat slowed, steady again. Ryan's ship emerged back onto the open strands. The Silkborn warriors circled him, their silver-winged mounts gliding silently. Serenya's voice filled his mind, softer now. The heart strand has chosen you, and you have chosen us. You are part of the web now. Back at the city, the Silkborn gathered in the central hall. The queen stepped forward, holding a coil of golden silk. She looped it gently around Ryan's wrist. This is your bond to our world. Wherever you go, it will guide you back. The thread felt warm, almost alive. For a moment, Ryan thought he saw faint shapes moving inside it, stars, bridges, paths yet unseen. She offered him a choice: stay and help guard the web, or return to his own world, carrying the bond with him. Ryan's eyes wandered to the docking spire where his ship waited. Part of him wanted to stay. The web was unlike anything he had ever seen. But another part knew the Shadow Weavers might not stop here. If they could find one world, they could find others. I'll take the bond, he said, but I can't stay. Not yet, Serenya nodded, as if she had expected the answer. Then go, but remember, the web is wide, and its shadows are patient. The horizon star lifted from the city, its shadow passing over the white plains. The silk dome of the sky shimmered as the ship rose higher. The golden thread on Ryan's wrist pulsed once. He felt a pull, a map without coordinates, a path without a destination. As the ship broke free of the woven sky, the stars returned. Ryan expected silence. Instead, the console lit up with a new signal. It wasn't the same as before, not a web-shaped pattern, but something sharper, more deliberate. A beacon, pulsing from a point much closer to home. He stared at it for a long moment. The bond thread on his wrist grew warmer. "Iris," he said, "set a course." The engines flared, and the horizon star turned toward the new light. In the dark between the stars, Ryan felt it. The web wasn't done with him yet.